Joyner has so little faith in science that keeps trying to focus down on smaller and smaller details.
One of the things I think we have to ask ourselves when we get these big initiatives is what's the definition of success?
In his mind, this flood of information doesn't matter unless doctors can use it to create effective and affordable treatments that patients will actually follow. This is a promise of precision medicine in the long run, but Joyner sees little evidence of success to date, particularly in regard to vast piles of information, hoping to make sense of it later.
And the question is this just going to be kind of a biological Tower of Babel, or will we be able to actually sort meaningful information out of this?
Now, his views aren't popular elsewhere at the Mayo Clinic, which is sinking hundreds of millions of dollars into precision medicine, like in the shiny new lab across campus. They
is just starting her career as a solo artist, but Gabriel Garzón Montano, he's been doing it for a little while. Do you worry about everything? Afraid you ain't got the time game. Gabriel Garzón Montano first appeared on the music scene in 2014. And he turned heads with his meticulous songwriting style, lush miracle, but art loved her in spite of this flaw. But when one of her fellow psychologists casually described Erin as highly sensitive, a light bulb went on in her head. It was as if these two words described her
in 1 mile, exit right to I-20 Business Loop.
Described her mysterious failing. Except that the psychologist hadn't been referring to a flaw at all. It had been a neutral description. Erin pondered this new insight, and then set out to research this trait called sensitivity, the romantic side of their relationship. She and Franklin replaced it with something formidable, a union of his confidence with her conscience. Fast forward to our own time, where we'll meet another woman of similar temperament, acting out her own sense of conscience. Dr. Elaine Aron is a research psychologist who, since her first scientific publication in 1997, has single-handedly reframed
was impossible. The sequence in which we observe characteristics of a person is often determined by chance. Sequence matters, however, because the halo effect increases the weight of first impressions, sometimes to the point that subsequent information is mostly wasted. Early in my career as a professor, I graded students' essay exams in the conventional way. I would pick up one test for much in subjective confidence. The confidence that individuals have in their beliefs depends mostly on the quality of the story they can tell about what they see, even if they see little. And knew how to compute the sample size that would reduce the risk of failure to an acceptable level. But I had never chosen a sample size by computation. Like my colleagues, I had trusted tradition and my intuition in planning my experiments, and had never thought seriously about the issue. When Amos visited the seminar, I had already reached the conclusion that my intuitions were deficient. And in the course of the seminar, we quickly agreed that the Michigan optimists were wrong. Amos and I set out to examine whether I was the only fool or a member of a majority of fools by testing whether researchers selected for mathematical expertise would make sense. Linda is a psychiatric social worker. Linda is a member of the League of Women Voters. Linda is a bank teller. Linda is an insurance salesperson. Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement. The problem shows its age in several ways. The League of Women Voters is no longer as prominent as it was, and the idea of a feminist movement sounds quaint, a testimonial to the change in the status of women over the last 30 years. Even in the participants, to judge the probability that each student had passed the test. The manipulation of causal base rates was straightforward. Ashim told one group that the students they saw had been drawn from a class in which 75% passed the exam, and told another group that the same students had been in a class in which only 25% passed. This is a powerful manipulation, because the base rate of passing suggests the immediate inference that the test that only 25% passed must have been brutally difficult. There was no sign that they disbelieved us. How could they? After all, we had analyzed
Stay to
their
the left to
voting
US
results,
75
and they
South.
were sophisticated enough to see the implications, which we politely refrained from spelling out. We all went on calmly with our dinner, and I have no doubt that both our findings and their implications were quickly swept under the rug, and that life in the firm went on just as before. The illusion of skill is not only an individual aberration, it is deeply ingrained in the culture of the industry. Facts that challenge such basic assumptions and thereby threaten people's livelihood and self-esteem are simply not absorbed. The mind does not digest them. This is particularly true of statistical studies of learning. Instead, the foxes recognize that reality emerges from the interactions of many different agents and forces, including blind luck, often producing large and unpredictable outcomes. It was reference points are gains. Below the reference point, they are losses. A principle of diminishing sensitivity applies to both sensory dimensions and the evaluation of changes of wealth. Turning on a weak light has a large effect in a dark room. The same increment of light may be undetectable in a brightly illuminated room. Similarly, the subjective difference between $900 and $1,000 is much smaller than the difference between $100 and $200. The third principle is loss aversion. When directly compared or weighted against, action is more significant than Adams. She reduced MPG by 10 miles rather than 2, and by a third, from 30 to 40 rather than a sixth, from 12 to 14. Now engage your system 2 and work it out. If the two car owners both drive 10,000 miles, Adam will reduce his consumption from a scandalous 833 gallons to a still shocking 714 gallons for a saving of 119 gallons. Beth's use of fuel will drop from 333 gallons to 250, saving only 83 gallons. The MPG frame is wrong, and it should be replaced by the gallons per mile frame, or liters per 100 kilometers, which is used in most other countries.